Nowadays with social media, everybody's talking about personal brand, but everybody wants to have a business and nobody's talking about what it takes to really brand a business to help you grow, make money, and live the life you want. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 4 secret elements of branding that you can use to grow your business in 2025. Let me take a quick second to reintroduce myself because it's been a minute since I uploaded a video. I'm Quintel Harcum. I founded Good Part & Company, which was a plant-based health cafe and juice bar located in Baltimore, Maryland. We expanded our brand and our business, and we became the first black-owned food service partner in the history of John Hopkins University. So I took my juice bar from the heart of Baltimore City, expanded it, partnered with Johns Hopkins, and became the wellness operator at the cafe inside of their new built gym starting in 2021. Okay, so what does that mean? What the heck do I know about branding? Ever since I was little, I feel like I had good taste, but my mom had good taste and she would take me different places. And I just always had an eye for the difference in what this business was, what this business served, how they look different, and the quality of things. So even when we was shopping on a budget at say Value City, or TJ Maxx, I was always finding the polo shirt for $25 that was the same as the one that was at Macy's or Heck Company back in the day. Or just like the higher quality fabrics, the difference between French terry and this and that. So I always understood fashion, and even going to like supermarkets when we started to level up from the budget markets to the middle tier markets like Giant and other regional markets, and then eventually Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. So ever since I was young, different sneakers, everybody understand the difference between a Payless shoe and a Nike. But I was in all of the different stores. We had a local shoe, had cobbler here at Dan Brothers where they used to make like gator skin shoes, like all of these things. My dad had good taste and good style. He used to wear gold jewelry. So all of these things, I'm around different types of brands and just a lot of high quality and low quality and just a good mix of everything, enough for me to understand the difference in what customers buy, what we like, and why we like it. And I feel like those things led me down the path of interest in design, and it led me to FIT and doing some graphic design and starting a clothing brand and building a nightlife friend with my friends and doing parties and picking the right venues, finding real fly restaurants. All of these things mixed in, and I realized that what I was understanding more and more was branding. And all of those things rolled themselves up into Good Part & Company and helped me leverage a small independent-owned juice bar and health cafe into multiple locations and really separate myself from all of the other juice bars, including some of the more popular franchises. So I want to tell you what I actually did to help me build and grow my brand and then land a big partnership with Johns Hopkins. So let's get into it. Now, if you go check out my Good Part & Company page, you can see me documenting the whole journey from the very beginning when I signed the lease for my first juice bar, my original location. And I had one of those episodes where I got this huge whiteboard. At the time, it was like a big white poster board. At the time, I didn't have whiteboards. Like now I have a whole bunch of whiteboards. I love them. But back then, I had a huge whiteboard and I color-coded a bunch of sticky notes. You buy the pack, you got all these different sticky notes. And you just had one of my friends. Has a really structured brain. She understands she's an administrator in school system. So she helped me clarify and get all of the ideas out of my head. But everything started with my original values. So that's the very first thing that was a part of my brand strategy, the very first core element you need in your brand. And I always look to the brands I like the most to set the template for what I did. And none of these brands really had anything to do with food and beverage except one that I based my business on, but they all had something in common in what they started from, which was their brand values. And those values typically extend from the person who founded the brand or the founder. And for me, I like Apple a lot. So of course, that leads back to Steve Jobs. There's so many books and documentaries and YouTube videos and all these things you can find on Steve Jobs. He was never shy about how he felt about brand, how he felt about his brand, about Apple and all those things. When you think about values, you think about what are the things that matter most to you? What are the things that you want to impart on your brand, and what does your brand stand for? What does it represent? What story is it telling? And what's the important part of that story? That's the real value. So for Good Part & Company, the value is all about living the highest quality life possible, starting from the inside out. So you should value what you actually eat, what you put inside your body, right? I live a plant-based lifestyle, so I was like, we only using plant-based items. You're not a bad guy. I'm not against you if you eat animal-based products, but if you're shopping at Good Part, you should be valuing plant-based items because that's what you're going to get sold here. Another thing that I really cared about, one of the values I always appreciate was convenience. I always talk to my friends, my people who talk to me about business, and my friends who are, like, we just going through day-to-day life trying to get better. And I'm like, yo, you not paying for convenience. Like, you trying to take shortcuts or figure out how to do this. Like, sometimes you just got to pay for convenience. And so convenience was one of the big values for Good Part and Company. That's why I needed to have a location near the busiest parts of the city. So my first location was in Mount Vernon on Charles Street, which is the dead center of the city. So Charles Street separates the east and west side of Baltimore. And it was right in the heart of a busy kind of arts district called Mount Vernon. But it was like at the business center of Mount Vernon. So I was 1 block away from the University of Baltimore, like big campus and everything, and across the street from major franchises, Starbucks, Subway, and Smoothie King, which that is a part of how I actually got my deal, and I'll tell part of that story later. But the very first core element is value. What are the values that you have? Notice that when people talk about personal brand too, always, and you look back at some of the people who just fell off, or some people may be scam artists, whatever the case may be, they didn't have strong values. They didn't really stand on a thing. And so they just faded away, or their values change, and then they lose their audience, they lose their momentum, because you got to have strong values that you implement, and values things within brands that change the least. The way it appears, the way they express it in the brand, that may change, right? Some colors may change, the logo design may change, the partnerships may change, but the value is still the same, okay? Very first core element, value. Now I'm going to talk to you about the second core element of branding, which is the vision. Now this is the part this is what entrepreneurship is really about, because entrepreneurs are trying to bring forth into the world something that they can see it in their mind. And if it's a good entrepreneur, they're a good salesman, they can help pitch others and get them to buy into their vision and start to see what it is that they see. Okay? So you got to have a vision. That is a part of the brand. That is a part of branding that most people overlook, because a lot of times when you start a business, some people just want to get paid. For high level craftsmen and technicians and creators and artists, they may just want to flex their skill and show their good work. And that in itself is a vision. But you have to have a vision that projects forward into the future. And when it comes to building a business, that future needs to be better than the present moment. That means your vision has to be great enough to elevate somebody else's life, improve their quality of life. And I learned from one of my good buddies and mentors. He was like, yo, this is my man Derek Falcon from Cloudy Donuts. He was like, yo, you got to have a vision so big you can fit other people's dreams into it. You got to fit other people's vision inside your vision. He let me know in a nice way, in a mentorship type of way. Like, I was playing small ball with my vision for Good Part. Yeah, my vision was bigger than most people around me, but it still wasn't big enough. So you got to have that vision. And so for Good Part, my vision was to see people live a higher quality of life. But I wasn't clear enough in defining how that looked. And then I started to get better and better. And then that's when I started building up the cafe. Again, you can go back to my YouTube channel for Good Part and Company. I left it up for a reason. I started building out the cafe. My contractors did the hard work and then just left me hanging, so I had to build up the rest on my own, paint and everything, redo the bathroom. I had the vision for the bathroom. Okay, we're going to change. We're going to make the color in the bathroom a little softer than the green outside so it can feel more relaxing. We're going to get a custom-made mirror. We're going to have that vision so people can see themselves in a better light, because they in a health food spot, so they already feel like they did the right thing by themselves to go and cop a fresh juice, to cop a smoothie or something. So when you look in the mirror, you look at yourself and you're like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. But that's the vision I had that I want to see for them. So you got to have a vision for your brand. And if you cannot describe the vision for your brand, you can't get customers and you can't get good team. You can't get good staff, good employees. You have to be able to express the vision in a way that they understand and that they can act on. And hopefully they'll start to see it for themselves. And another big thing about vision is, when it comes to branding, your vision, the vision you have for your brand, should tell a story or show something where customers can see themselves as a part of that vision, as a part of that story. Everybody's not going to be a great storyteller. So you can have a vision and you might have to go out into the world and get you a storyteller. You might have to hire a copywriter. You're going to have to get you a graphic design team, somebody who can help tell the story. Sometimes you just got Quincy Jones, the production. Quincy Jones ain't play all of the instruments, but he orchestrated the vibe. And that There's a visual vibe that you got to orchestrate that's really going to separate your brand, separate your business from other businesses and make it a brand. Okay? You got to understand this too. A business without a story, a business without a vision that can't be shared properly, really is just a commodity. Okay? But a business with a story, that becomes a brand. So, second core element that nobody really talks about when it comes to building out your business so you can have a successful brand that stands out in the marketplace is you gotta have a clear vision. Now, this third part is not as easy as it sounds, but your business, your brand has to have a voice. And this part is difficult because when we think of big businesses and we think of brands, we only think of them in a big way. Not until recently where we've been able to experience brands that have developed a voice or smaller brands that's close enough to the original founders and things like that to where the brand actually has a voice that can resonate, that can be identified. And it's basically personifying a brand through communication, specifically through voice, through copy. Branding has only really become a thing. It hasn't been a thing since the beginning of doing business. Really just since the 1900s, maybe early 1900s, where there was enough money to spend in the marketplace to where things were no longer commoditized. And branding has been a thing forever since whatever, royal families and things like that. But identifying that voice is something that happened the more we've been able to advance technology around communication. All right, so that's a quick history lesson. Now, the voice. This is where you may have somebody who's out speaking for the brand. This is where it's helpful to have a founder-led brand where you can get on camera and talk about what your business does, talk about what you stand for, talk about the kind of connections you're making with your customers and with other brands and doing partnerships. This is where having good Instagram captions and having a poppin' Twitter feed, being able to write blog posts. Like, writing is the foundation of all communication, right? Because you can speak off the top of the dome, you can freestyle it, but you still need to know how to put words together. And if you want, you can call that writing in your mind, but you have to be able to write. And then once you start writing, you have to start to develop your voice, and it only comes through practice. So you got to show up and talk that talk. You really got to talk that talk. And it helps if you say it in an authentic way that's true to you and that connects to the people you're trying to sell, your customers or your audience or your clients. So you got to speak some of their language too. But what I find that a lot of people overlook when it comes to branding is they feel like their business has to be seen in a certain position, in a certain light, and then they try to start to speak to that position instead of the position they're in. And what I mean by that is they start using a whole bunch of words that ain't nobody trying to hear. Basically, you get a bunch of 3 and 4 letter syllables, and you gotta look through the thesaurus to figure out what people talking about. That's not a good brand voice. You gotta have a good brand voice, and what that looks like is like just look up good classic ads. We know the voice for Nike. The voice is confident. I won't say it's defiant, but they're not scared, and it's just do it. It's confident and it's encouraging to a certain degree, and it makes you believe that you can get stuff done. The voice around branding for Apple is succinct because Steve Jobs was a super clear communicator. I think there's so many books out there on him, but I believe he said, don't use 100 words when you can use 10. Don't use 10 words when you can use a picture. So you got to be super clear in their communication. And so you see it in their branding where it just says, think different. That's it. They already engage you. 2 words, think different. Okay? Go to their website and you'll see the way they describe their products is very much like describing a person. They're not talking about all of the features. They may be on the landing page, but in the ads and in the copy, they talk like they're talking about a person. And people like people. So Apple is about connecting the creators, the people who aren't scared to go make things happen, right? So they use their voice to talk to their crowd in that way by letting them know that they're different. And so you just want to be aware of your brand voice. I think somebody that did it really well over the last few years, Wendy's, where they start having this like unhinged, off the cuff. They start beefing with McDonald's and stuff like that right now on Twitter. And it's very funny. And it's way different from all of the other food brands, all of the fast food chains. And it feels human. Also, one thing that Wendy's has, that only I think like really Burger King has too, is they have a person as a part of their logo. So the cartoon of Wendy already personifies the brand. And so now Wendy has a voice. And no, it's not the voice of just some like little girl who she looks like in the picture. It's like this snarky, witty, Gen X millennial type of voice that understands what's going on right now and who they want to get now engaged into the brand. And they did an excellent job of it on Twitter. And sometimes they got a little lazy around it. We could talk about that later on. But having a good, strong voice for your brand is the third secret element that nobody's really talking about. So just to go over the first three, you got to have strong values. That's where it starts. The values are the foundation. Then you got to have a vision on top of the values that you want to get out into the world. And then you got to have a voice to communicate it. When you can say the right things, you can do all types of stuff. You can build all types of things around it and start really communicating the universe you're building from your values. It really all adds up. It's a beautiful thing. That's why I love branding and brand strategy and all that type of stuff. Now let's talk about this last element, which is the part that everybody really tries to get into before they start at the bottom of values. And the last core element of branding is visuals. You have to have all four of these aligned. You start with the values, then you have your vision, then you have the voice, then you have the visuals. Some people think the visuals come before the voice. No, you have to be able to describe what the thing looks like. If you just go straight into what it looks like, now you're trying to fix your voice around it, it's not going to work. Trust me. I had a clothing line. I was good with design and graphic design and things like that. At least I thought I was. I might have had technical skills around it, doing some graphics back when I was using like Firefox. This is before like Adobe Illustrator and everything was so popular. But it was I believe, yeah, it was Firefox that was out back then. So I was like using that. I had to use DreamWorks to build websites and all those types of things. So I was trying to just understand the technical side of designing things without understanding what's being communicated. Okay. And so my clothing line would get like some love from some people who I like. It was like being critically acclaimed. It was people who I thought was fly, but I didn't know how to market and put voice to my actual brand. My brand didn't stand for anything. Like, it really fell flat because I didn't have the other three elements, other three core elements of branding. I just had the visuals down. So it was like I was good with the minimalist graphics, coming in with the heavy grays and blacks and whites and the muted colors or whatever like that. But enough about that. Let me tell you how you can use visuals. So a lot of times people start a business, they just want to get straight into, I need a logo. It need to look like this. Oh no, this logo don't look right. They don't want to pay a real designer to do the logo. They don't know how to answer questions when designers ask them questions. They just want to send it off on Fiverr, which is cool. But you got to be able to have that voice and communicate your vision that's based on your values. And then that's when you really want to start hitting on the right logo. Because somebody over in another country in a whole different time zone, you just tell them kind of a thing, they're going to give you the best of what they understand that you're trying to communicate to them. But the visuals matter because regardless of what people say, the customers are going to judge what they see. They're going to judge a book by its cover. So you want to give strong, powerful visuals that's aligned with the rest of the other three elements. So you want to have a good logo. You want to have a good color palette that matches what your brand is about, that matches the personality that you're trying to fit within the brand, or that you want to communicate to the people you expect to shop with you. So when you think about people who do brand visuals at the highest level, it's always luxury brands. So you got all of the brands out of LVMH and whatever, Kering and all of the other conglomerates or whatever. So let's start with LVMH or Celine or Dior, right? Or YSL. You get a lot of minimal branding. But when you look at Fendi and you look at Gucci, I'm not sure if Fendi is Italian. I know Gucci is Italian. They're a bit more flamboyant and flashy, so it's not as minimal, but it still feels luxury. So then you have to think about, how do I communicate in a loud way without being tasteless? How do I put that into a visual? Because they know, and the foundation is they want to be able to show off who they are. They're not afraid of being who they are. They're not about being chill and lax. They want to show off. But now it's how do you show off? Because typically people look at folks who show off as annoying or rude or tasteless or things like that. But you want to be able to show that in a tasteful way. So you got to get the right visuals. And it's so much easier to get the visuals when you have the other three elements right. Another thing that helps with having the right visuals, or why the visuals really important, is that when you have the right visuals, you can say less and you can really get straight to the heart and minds of the people you want to communicate with, of the customers you want to get to, of the clientele you're trying to attract, even getting the eye of bigger brand partnerships. And by partnerships, I don't just mean like you exchanging money. Like you might get a partnership with a manufacturer, and the manufacturer wants to work with you because they know that you might be an opportunity for them to show the level of craftsmanship that manufacturer can produce. Or you communicating and you got the right visuals where the visuals are in line with the other brand, and the other brand you have some brand overlap with the customer base and things like that. Like visuals matter a lot. Even like on your website, you got the right foundations, so you have the right visual on your website, and that website now looks very welcoming because now we have a global economy. So you're not going to just meet. So you're less likely to just walk down the street to engage in a business that you like. You'll see that business online first. So it's very important to have the visuals coming across in the ad, on the feed, on the timeline, on the YouTube channel like this. Whatever it is, the visuals really matter. Pay attention to the visuals, but understand it's important, but not more important than having the other three elements for your branding and your brand strategy. Listen, there are a lot of things that go into brand strategy, but the four core elements again are having the right values, the right vision, the right voice, and the right visuals. You put them all together and you'll be looking good with your business in 2025, and you'll really have the core foundation and elements you need to build a brand. Now, if you have a premium brand and you have a business that you want to transition into a more premium brand and kind of elevate where your business is, I created a way for you to measure the immeasurable, right? Because branding is very hard to describe, but it's very easy to recognize. So it's intangible. So I figured out a way to make it more tangible, make it measurable. I created the Brand Max Calculator because I like to call it brand maxing. What's they call look maxing? That's what the guys be into. Look maxing, but for a business, for the brand of that business, okay? And I didn't talk about this earlier, so I'll talk about it now. But branding is really the expression of a business and how it connects with the people the audience that is trying to get, right? And it's what the audience feels and thinks. It kind of bridges the audience to the business through thoughts and feelings. And that's really all it is. You don't even get to determine whether or not your brand is good or not. The customers and the audience and the people that see your brand determine that. Anyway, if you want to find out if you're actually maxing out the potential of your brand, you can click the link in the description and you can use my Brand Max Calculator. So it's going to let you know, based on a series of things that kind of make it tangible for you, if you're getting the most out of your brand and if you're on the right direction to taking your business from just a commodity to a premium brand. So click the link in the description. Check out the Brand Max Calculator if you want to level your brand up and make it even better. I hope you appreciated this video. If you got any value out of it, click like, subscribe. I'll check you guys out in the next video.